What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Purpose Money Master Course, step number 3. Step number 3, which is also lesson number 3 or chapter number 3, whatever you want to call it, whatever makes you happy. All right, so I hope you're learning so far. You've been through chapter 1 or step 1 and step number 2. Now we are looking into step number 3, and every step is crucial. So at this point, if you don't have a notebook and pen or pencil, I want you to pause the video and go grab those things because they are important for you. I want you to be taking notes. These are things that when I teach, I expect that you're going to implement right away. You're not just learning so you can acquire knowledge. I do encourage you as your financial coach to make sure that you are implementing everything that I'm teaching you in this course. That is why you're in this class. It's very important that you implement. Now, step number 3 is talking about building an emergency fund. Building an emergency fund. Why? So we've learned that life can happen to anyone. Life can happen to you. And when it happens, most of the time it comes unprepared. We don't know what's happening today or tomorrow. We are aware of what happened yesterday, but we don't know anything about tomorrow. Life can happen. So we are facing a lot of things. We are facing a lot of things in life. For example, things like fires can erupt anytime. Things like storms or hurricanes or floods, accidents, sicknesses, illnesses, death, stuff like that. Things that we don't really want to think about, but they do happen in life. The question is, when they do happen, are you financially prepared? Because one of the reasons poor people sometimes stay poor, it's because when they are faced by a catastrophic event in their life, they have to deplete everything they have, or even worse, they have to go borrow money so they can be able to take care of the emergency situation. One incident, one happening, one thing can become the reason for you moving from being a wealth creator to filing bankruptcy, just because of one thing that happened to you. So emergency fund is crucial if you're going to become financially free. This is the one thing that you have to do right away before you do anything else. So we're going to talk about this emergency fund in this chapter a little bit and help you and equip you to be able to build an emergency fund. An emergency fund is the money that you're not going to touch unless there's an emergency. This is not the money that you take and say, I'm going to go out for dinner, or I'm going to buy another set of furniture. That's not what the emergency fund is for. This is not the money for you to buy another car, or even your regular house repairs or anything of that nature. This is for things like if a tree has fallen on your roof, or you had an accident and the insurance cannot cover part of that, or somebody got sick and part of that expense was not covered by the insurance, or maybe for some reason you didn't have insurance, which I recommend all the time to make sure you have insurance coverage. So emergency fund is crucial because things happen. If you're listening to me and you have a family, please make sure you build an emergency fund. If you're listening to me and you don't have a family, please make sure you build an emergency fund. Life happens and it can happen to you too. Now, what do you do? How much should I save for emergency fund? Most financial professionals, after years of research and study, have agreed that 3 to 6 months of your expenses, or your monthly expenses, is a reasonable amount. So, for example, if you're getting paid $5,000 a month, this is just an example. And I know I'm speaking with people from all over the world. So this is just a number I'm using. Don't say, oh my God, somebody's making that much. Or don't say, oh, that's too little. I understand we all make different amounts of income. But let's just use $5,000 a month. And then your expenses for the month, maybe they are $4,000 out of the $5,000. So your emergency fund can be anywhere between $12,000 to actually 4 times 6, which is what? 24, I think. So you want to make sure you save $12,000 to $24,000 in your emergency fund, depending on now your income. So that is the money that sits for emergency, just in case something happens. And trust me, something will happen in your life. Now, how long should I take to build an emergency fund? We encourage you to do this as soon as possible, in as short time as possible, depending on your ability. However, there's no definite time to build your emergency fund. You can do it within 1 year, but others have done it in 3 years. But you're on a mission to build your emergency fund. That's what's important. The key is to get it done as soon as you practically can. So building an emergency fund and the time it takes to build it. Where do I put my emergency fund? That's a great question. Now, because this is emergency money, you don't want to put it where you can easily access it. You don't want to put it in your checking account in that is connected to the card that you swipe every day when you go shopping. That is dangerous. So you are going to put it in other places. And this, I'm going to recommend a few things here. First, you can open a separate savings account dedicated to emergency fund only. That is one of the options. And I can even recommend that you open that in a different bank other than your regular bank that you use for your regular daily activities, your banking activities. Open this emergency fund at a different bank and make sure it's a savings account, and make sure you're not being charged monthly fees or anything like that. It stays there and is not going down. Now, that's one of the options. The problem with this option, though, your money is not growing at all. It's just sitting there. It's still better than not having an emergency fund. It's still better, but it's not growing. So another option is to open a CD account, a certificate of deposit account, which actually has a little bit interest rate to it. Your money is growing a little bit you earn a little bit money on interest. It's not going to be a lot on a CD account, but it's something, and it can help you to deal with inflation over time. So a CD account is great for emergency fund. But also the third option is money market investments. Money markets are short-term investments that are usually invested in more safe places like some bonds and stuff like that. And that is something that we can go at a personal level if you really want to learn more about that. So make sure that that's where you open those accounts and put your emergency fund there. You should not invest your emergency fund in a long-term investment like the bonds and mutual funds and ETFs that are long-term, because emergency can happen anytime. You want to make it difficult enough to access, but easy enough to access when you need it. So what happens after you have an emergency, if you have built this emergency fund and then you actually have an emergency situation and you've spent the money, what happened? Well, if a reasonable emergency has occurred to cause you to withdraw money, you should focus on replenishing the account. You should focus on replenishing the account immediately after and as soon as you're able to do that. This may delay the original date to reach your goals, but you must not stop. If you have already reached your goals, you must still replenish the account if money is withdrawn from it. So, for example, if you were trying to raise your emergency fund to $15,000, and before you reach that goal, an emergency happen, you take the money, maybe you spent $5,000, and you only now left maybe with $3,000. After the emergency has passed, you come back and continue to build your emergency to reach your goal, which is $15,000. You do not stop. You keep on going until you reach that goal, because this is very important for where you are going. So that is very important for where you're going. I want to insist that we don't know what happens tomorrow. As much as we pray to God and believe God to protect us and we are being careful, nobody knows what is happening tomorrow. And one of the things that have caused people to not be able to build wealth and become financially free is because they don't have an emergency fund. You want to build an emergency fund because you want to build your financial house, you want to be financially free, and you want to have that fund helping you just in case something happens. That's all I have for you for this chapter, for this step. I hope you're going to go to work after this chapter and go open up an emergency fund if you don't have yet. Remember, don't put that money under your pillow. Don't put in the same checking account or savings account with the one that you do daily. If you're going to be at a bank, open a separate savings account, if possible, at a different bank, not the one that you use daily. Or you can also have a CD account, certificate of deposit. That way you'll be able to at least have an interest built there. But also, you can learn about money markets and how you can be able to invest in those short-term investments that are easily accessible when you need the money. And with that, I hope you are going to work. This is on your journey to build your wealth, and I will see you at the top. This is your coach Amos. I'm glad to be here with you. Have a great time.